I'm Amy, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at Murfreesboro Electric Department, and this is my story. My story involves two of the most important people in my life, and that is my mom and my dad. Both my parents are breast cancer survivors. My mother was diagnosed when I was in high school. She had a routine mammogram, and they found a lump in her breast. It all went really fast, as I remember. It seems like one day she came in and said she had cancer, and the next day she was in the hospital. She went in and had a full mastectomy done. I remember, staying with her in the hospital, and I remember all the emotions that I was having. Being, in my teens at the time, and really not ever experiencing someone so close to me with cancer. My grandmother did pass away of leukemia, but I was a lot younger at that time. So being a little bit older and experiencing this with my mom, is a pretty scary time. But my mother, she never let on. She's the strongest woman I know, and so she really was the rock for the whole family. I don't remember her being really down for a long time. I just remember her being tough and just getting through it, and that's kind of how my mother is. So, she was strong for us when, we should have been the ones that were strong for her, but we did all pull together with her during that time, and it was not in any of her lymph nodes, and so she's very fortunate in that sense. And back when she had this, if it wasn't in your lymph nodes, you didn't have to have chemo and radiation. So she didn't have to do that, although she did have to take the tamoxifen for 10 years. She has been cancer-free for 31 years, so we celebrate that all the time. We participate in a lot of the Relay for Lives here in Murfreesboro, and we always celebrate that. And she always gets to kind of bring up the rear of the parade as one of the longest cancer survivors that participate in that event, so we're very proud of that. My dad, on the other hand, it's interesting when I tell people my dad has breast cancer, because they don't ever believe me. When I go to my doctor's appointments and they're like, "What's your family history?" and I'm like, "Well, both my parents have breast cancer," and they'll kind of look up and they'll be like, "Your dad? You mean both?" And I'm like, "Yes, my dad had breast cancer too." It's very rare in men. You don't hear about it that often, and I think that is something that we really need to start raising awareness for. For my dad, he noticed that his nipple started to invert, and that is a sign. So men out there, if you see that happening, go get that checked out right away. He even kind of went to the doctor about it, and I think even the doctor kind of brushed it off a little bit at first, and then my dad actually did a self-examination and found the lump himself. Went back to the doctor, and they did the biopsy, and he actually had stage 3 cancer. So he did, as my mother did, have a full mastectomy, and they actually took out all 31 of his lymph nodes that were under his arm on that side, and the cancer was found in 10 of the 31 lymph nodes. So for my dad, his story is a little bit different, and it was a little bit longer recovery. He actually had to do 18 weeks of chemo, and when he finished that, he had to turn right around and have about 6 weeks of radiation. I remember he was very tired. It made him very tired, very weak. Of course, he lost his hair, but he kind of didn't have hair to begin with, so we didn't notice that so much. But he lost his eyebrows anyway, and then he lost his sense of taste. He lost his sense of smell, and both my parents are very, very active. My dad's very active, so to see him kind of be tired was hard for all of us. And but the one thing, as my mother, they're two of the strongest people I know, and even on his worst days, he would get up and walk up and down the driveway. And he said that was the key for him to help manage this, was to stay active, even if he had to force himself to stay active. So even if it was just walking up and down the driveway, or as he said, shuffling up and down the driveway, that's what he did. He has now been cancer-free for 7.5 years. So as far as my cancer story, it has a happy ending. I still have both my parents. I enjoy them every day, and we're just thankful to God that He brought us all through this journey closer as a family, and my parents are stronger than ever. So I just want everybody out there to know that breast cancer doesn't just affect women, it affects men. So make sure to get things checked out that seem abnormal to you.